So the first question I have is it begs me to ask the obvious question, which is this has been influenced, I'm guessed, by so many different or was it even influenced? Maybe I should ask that question. Were there any Hollywood influences where you were like mother daughters that you wanted to parallel at all, or is this completely fresh and original?
Um, Inspiration came in a lot of weird ways for this film. It's a manifestation, a lot of different things that I've combined over the past couple of years.
Hmm.
More specifically, Sunset Boulevard.
Ah,
I just loved that image of a once great Hollywood titan who fell from grace. And I just love that idea so much. And I've kind of been like changing it around over the past couple of years. And I've been working with my partner, Emily Short, on it. And together we just came up with that idea.
sure.
And we wanted to bring it closer to home. And instead of focusing on the Hollywood titan, we focus on her family and how her fall from grace impacts her daughter, who wants to get into the same industry and is kind of haunted by the ghosts that plagued her mother, and will they plague her? And so I took a lot of inspiration from that. I also took a lot of inspiration from Kubrick. I know that's
Mm,
like cliche to say because everybody loves Kubrick, but just
yes.
his shot style and how he lingers, how the camera movements just kind of linger on one specific person, and I just love that kind of ominous type of directing style.
Gotcha. Well, and it's interesting to me when we start looking at it. I love that immediate from the very first 4 or 5 minutes where you've got, these different things brushing in front of us with the clips and the whole 9 yards. It's just such a neat little effect. Talk to people a bit about, and that's the technical filmmaking part we like to talk about, which is how hard is it to make it look like that, the clippings and the things that you do. How much time does it take an extra care from a filmmaker's perspective to try to make that look as authentic as possible, as in to today's life?
Well, it definitely was a lot more elbow grease. Believe it or not, the beginning montage was added even before we shot the whole thing.
Oh,
The very first scene was Grace walking through the city,
mhm,
and we wanted to have something that kind of prefaced that and
sure.
set the tone. And you get a lot more exposition out that way. And we see how her mother was even in life, and even if
Mhm.
it's just through still photography. So before we wrapped, Emily and I decided that we planned to take pictures, but we didn't know where they were going to go. So let's put it in the beginning of the film.
Sure.
So I took the pictures of Emily Short, and I after we wrapped, I did them through Photoshop, and I found a font that made it look like a signature, and we made it
Sure.
try to look authentic and as classic as possible. And then I filmed it in my basement, believe it or not. I tried to do some lighting setups
Oh my
where,
God.
yeah, and I put the camera on a tripod. I set the lights up, and yeah, we threw it in the opening montage. I showed it to my partner, and she loved it. And yeah, that's how that started.
Oh my gosh, look at that. Well, and the thing too is that it does look so authentic when you're looking at the first couple minutes like that. I was like, nobody would guess, that sort of work goes into it. It's amazing to me how things like that come from that what people don't even know, filming in basements, filming in places with almost no money, etc. And you want to pay homage to some of those older days, some filmmakers in particular, clearly. And you've picked two actresses that are able to come to the table fully prepared, not only in emotion, but being able to be engaging. I find both of them to be fascinating, especially the mom character, because you're seeing her in two different shades of life. You're seeing the daughter constantly, but mom is making a transition from before and after. So why pick her? What was the look or the feel, or what stood out about that particular actor that made you say she's the mom and not the daughter? Because I could have seen a role reversal there.
Well, Emily Short has been my best friend for quite a number of years now, and she knows
Mhm.
exactly what I was going for. And we discussed the character multiple times, and we clicked. And she brought ideas to the table that I couldn't see anybody else bringing. And we knew right from that moment, like this is where this is where you need to be. And she brought a lot of originality to the character. And obviously, all of us are friends. Myself, Emily Short, who's my partner, and Priscilla and Salma, who played Grace. We all have a really close dynamic. So we knew that capturing that on screen is essential when those two have chemistry behind the scenes, and it would establish well on camera. So, and everybody I couldn't have asked for. I have to give credit to the crew as well. And my DP Brendan Beckett, he knew exactly what I was going for, and he brought something that it was exactly in my head right to the screen. And I have to thank everybody for that because they did everything that I imagined and more.
Well, and of course, as Michael had mentioned earlier, you of course have written different forms of films. This is obviously somewhat of a different genre versus The Damage, let's say. Clearly much different in a lot of ways. So, in terms of writing style, when you were looking at writing something like this, I'm really surprised. I guess I was expecting a few more characters. Maybe it's just me, the writer in me, saying to myself, there's a big story here. Meaning, was it again intentional to keep it really at the mother-daughter, or would you ever have entertained or did entertain the idea of having more than one relationship going on here, maybe one affecting the other?
Well, originally the script was a feature. And
Ah,
yeah, so it's interesting because there was a lot more characters, and the script was huge. There was a lot more. Originally, Grace was a stage actress and not a film actress, and there was a lot more. And we explored a lot more of Flora's what happened to her,
sure,
and we. I wanted to make this film so bad, and it was just like eating at me, and like I need to tell the story. And
sure,
I was like, all right, the best way for me to do it right now as a college student is to make it a short. And I
sure.
was like, I love short films. I think they're a beautiful form of storytelling. I was like, how can I capture this story in a short? And that's when I started, drafting and changing and so many different things. And it was quite a long time of that process. And obviously drafts come and drafts go, and you feel good about one draft, and you're like, no, I want to change some stuff. But
Yes.
finally you have to hit the nail on the head, and it's like, this is it, this is the story. And everybody felt good about it, which I'm so happy about. And we shot it last summer, so
Gotcha.
after a crowdfunding campaign, which they saved me.
Oh, I imagine. The writer in me wants to ask, most writers are all the same in that, you finally get to a point where you think that you're completely done and, oh, just one more edit, one more edit. With this turning it into a movie, of course, at what point did you know, like it or not, I have to be done with editing? Because I think that's the hardest part, is to cut yourself off. And was that hard for you? Because like you said, it's very, very long originally.
Mhm. I think it's just a matter of how many times you reread it and you're comfortable with it.
Mhm.
Because I like to say I'm a perfectionist, because I like to make sure that everything is organized, everything is on
Sure,
point, everything it's OCD, I don't know, but I step away from it and then I go back to it. And
sure.
if I still have that feeling that I'm comfortable, I'll stop, because then
Ah,
you'll just drive yourself crazy and just keep going and going and going. So it's just a matter of stepping back for a little while and then going back to it and feeling that level of comfortability.
sure. And of course, you being the filmmaker itself, I don't know why I'm surprised, but yes, I can admit that I was really surprised to not see you popping in and out of this movie yourself. I would have expected, by the things I hear about you and your personality, etc., that you would be very camera ready, like literally jumping right in and putting yourself in there somewhere, which, filmmakers tend to do. And I didn't see you hopping in and out. So how come? No Vincent.
Um, I I'd like to make cameos sometimes. I made a cameo in the Damage, just
Yes.
to like, yes, but in this film I wanted to make sure that I was comfortable as a director, because this was my first real solo directing
Right.
experience. I've co-directed with my partner Emily Short
Yep.
on numerous projects, but this one I really wanted to make sure I was comfortable behind the camera.
Hmm.
And because I knew I've had experience in front before, and in one way or another, but I wanted to make sure, like, behind the camera, I was prepared, I was ready, and I didn't want to distract myself by making sure, like, oh, I was camera ready, not director ready.
Sure, of course. And some people have a problem making that distinction. I think that, if you make the leap from, okay, I'm now first the writer, then I'm a director, and I'm a filmmaker. For you, I'm guessing that you have more of the heart of the writer versus the filmmaker. So was it a traumatic leap? Because I find sometimes people, when they move and they're very comfortable in one area, it's a tough transition to go to another leap like that.
Oh, I was terrified. I
Really?
think, yes, this was probably the most anxiety I've ever felt behind the camera.
No.
Not, and for one reason, because this was the biggest crew I've ever worked with,
Sure.
but mostly it was just me and Emily. It was just us two, and then us and Priscilla. And we just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And we said, we want to have a crew, we want to have sound, we want to have equipment, and we want to have all these things, and a DP. And we had to have catering, and we had to have money. And it's just all of these things where, it's a lot bigger than just us two. And all the pressure kind of falls on the filmmaker, falls on my shoulders, because I made all this happen. So I had to make sure that I had that level of professionalism, and made sure that I was prepared. And
Absolutely.
there were times where I'd be dumping the footage from that day, and I'd just be sitting in this room, believe it or not, just saying like, can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe it. Because there's a lot of tension that goes before, and it's like, can I really do this? And can I really prove myself in a project? And all I can just hope for is the best.
Absolutely. Well, and because you were a new filmmaker, as you said, with being terrified and having anxiety, I guess I want to ask you, while you were filming, or maybe it didn't even happen until after you were done filming, where did you get to a point where you were like in the back of your head, aha, I got it. I'm right where I need to be? Or was it more of a constant, holy shit, this isn't going right, you know?
I had a feeling we had something special from the beginning, because once I saw Emily and Priscilla working together and just getting ready and rehearsing their lines, and I just saw the DP just setting up the camera and the sound guy just working on his equipment. I just like, okay, I can breathe, but I have a feeling something where we have something. And then
Sure.
the scene towards the end when Grace was lamenting towards her mother to not kill herself, that hit me emotionally as just as a viewer, and not as, and I took the filmmaker side out of it, and I was like, wow, like this hits an emotional chord with me, and I
Sure.
knew everything was happening. So it was from that moment that I had a feeling like, okay, maybe this is happening. This is good. This is good. I
Ah,
can breathe.
sure. Oh, sure. Now, as you said, with the influences like Sunset Boulevard, for instance, so with the girls, was it on their own behalf? As far as their process, every actor has a different process. So did they come to you and say, hey, listen, you know, I wanted to play this, or I idolize this person? Did they bring their own set of influences in there? Was it necessary for them to do that, or did you allow that? And moreover, improv. I always love to hear that you've allowed improv, and in this case, maybe you didn't. So if you could talk on those 2 points.
Oh, I love when they liberate themselves and they just have that freedom to express themselves. Like I told Priscilla and Emily that, you know, if you feel something is right, go for it. And I wanted them to know that I was comfortable with that. And I met with Priscilla many times before. Like I said, she's a friend of mine, so we would just talk about the character. We went out to dinner a couple of times, and she came over to my house, and we talked about the script, and we spoke about the character, and she had ideas about just her mental state and her personality. And she said, like, you know, she should be kind of like frantic and just trying to get things done, and just she wants to just be ahead of the curve. And I said, absolutely. I said, I love that, and I incorporated a lot of that into later drafts of the script. So it was really a collaborative process all the way through. I can't say it was just you know, me and the computer. It was me and Emily and Priscilla and everybody that just came together and made, and I couldn't be prouder.
Oh, I bet. And you know, the timing here, so you're talking about 19 minutes, and we're watching the relationship envelop over that period of time. And looking back on some of that, one of the things that I thought was neat was you don't rush the relationship, meaning in the beginning, we understand that there's a daughter here. We understand that there is regret, remorse, feelings, all of that stuff. But you allow their feelings to mature over the course of time. I like how it's spread out. Again, the relationship isn't just defined solely by one event, one moment, one incident. Um, is that personal for you? Because I would venture to guess most filmmakers I hear tell me that I'm just drawing on what I know already.
This was a very personal film, and that's kind of why there was a lot more pressure on my shoulders, and that's kind of why I wanted to take it on solely as a
Mm-hmm.
director, because there's a lot of personal things that came out even in the script, of just like about family, about friendship, even about filmmaking. This is just my expression of how much I love cinema. And I know it kind of focuses on the darker side of cinema,
Yes.
but I wanted to show that I love film so much that I'm willing to tell a darker story about it. And like I said, that the personal elements of family made it kind of hard for me just to like watch it unfold. But especially the mother daughter relationship, like I can
Sure.
personal connections to that and stuff like that. But I think it makes more of a personal connection just to your work, to have some kind of background to it.
I also noted that a few of the people that had also screened the film had made mention of the fact that you've got, you know, the male friend, you know, that's the daughter's friend, of course. Talk to me a bit about him, because, you know, he's kind of undershadowed, I want to say. Not that you don't notice him, but we all notice the mother and the daughter, obviously. So talk a bit about your selection for him and how you feel that he provides, even if minimalistically, um, provides her with a path or a means to try to accept her mother's, the loss of her mother.
Well, he's a very good friend of Emily Short's. His name is Gene Romano. He's a very talented actor who we're going to be working with on future projects. And
Okay.
I talked to him a couple of times, and his character was in the feature script in a bigger capacity. But I
Hmm.
wanted to have a character in Grace's fantasy and real life that establishes what world she's in. And I wanted his reaction to kind of mirror hers. In the beginning, it's more of a level of like uncertainty and apprehension, to where we go into the colored world, or into her real future, and
Hmm.
to where he's like more like he knows what she wants, and they are friends. There's no, romantic connection. It's just someone to talk to. But I wanted to have a character that grounds the setting, whether mentally, emotionally, and physically.
Sure, of course. And we do always talk about the technical stuff. Michael's more on the technical side than I am. So, of course, what did you shoot it on? And more importantly, I'm curious to see how much editing work went into this, because my guess was not as much as I would have thought.
Well, my DP, Brendan, we have a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, so we
Okay.
used that to shoot on, and he was very comfortable with it, and I trusted him 150%. And we used the Steadicam and all the normal stuff, but
Sure.
I knew I wanted those tracking shots, and I knew I wanted those, panning and all that stuff, and he knew more than I could about the technical, the technical stuff.
Gotcha.
And in terms of the editing, I edited the film, and there actually wasn't a lot of difficult cuts. Just the most difficult part for me were the transitions,
Oh,
because
sure.
I wanted to be able to know that we're transitioning from one mental memory to another. So when Flora is passing Grace, and we go from one that wine scene to the scene where she's screaming at her husband, I
Yes.
wanted to have a difference of those areas. And then the hardest cut of the film was when when Grace moves behind the counter, and we pan through and we see that she's in one outfit, and then we move to the other side and she's in
Right.
another outfit.
Sure.
That took a lot of work. That made, because crossfading and all that, and making sure that the timing was right. And yeah, that was difficult for me, but I was happy with how it turned out.
Oh, absolutely. And it did turn out actually quite well. When I was looking at their characters, both of the girls, one of the things I was thinking about was, Priscilla's character. I wonder if the reason, in part, why the daughter is having these flashbacks is because I think that Priscilla eventually wanted to end up being more so like her daughter. And now, of course, you see the daughter trying to evolve to some degree like her mother, hopefully without, terminating her life, etc. But I almost feel like they've evolved into each other in some ways. You know what I mean? This has been a revelation, should Priscilla's character have lived, obviously. So I think they both are kind of a mirror reflection of each other. So you've done very well to show that relationship as far as that goes. We all know in Hollywood that this is, well, sadly, more common than one would think, obviously. So do you feel as if your film in some part is projecting that sort of commonplace, like part of it's almost commonplace in industry to a degree? Does that make sense?
Yes. Unfortunately, it is the world we live in, and addiction doesn't discriminate whether you're rich, poor, famous or not famous. And I wanted to portray that in a way where it's real for both the fame and the family.
Sure.
Uh, Sometimes the implications hurt the family obviously more than the individual, because Flora unfortunately dies, and we're left with the implications of how it results in Grace's life.
Sure.
So I really wanted to, because you see that a lot where in film we see a character's descent from great to the bottom level, but I wanted to show like the aftermath of that, how it the implications of another character. And it was hard to convey that, because obviously I haven't really seen anything to reference that, so it was kind of just going off of what we were imagining. But Priscilla did a great job with Grace as a character. And
Hmm.
yeah, it's dark, but it's a story that we really wanted to tell about that.
Well, and it's very realistic, and I think it's believable. I think relatability is extremely important with audiences, as you know, because they gravitate to what they can understand. And clearly, many mothers, including myself, with my own child, you often have that, Hollywood or not, there's that thing that goes on there in terms of the yin and the yang between mothers and daughters. So I think that, was projected very well through the film. I love those references that you have. The music is excellent. Where did you find that stuff? Is that original, or? Did you
Uh,
pick and choose?
copyright
Ah,
free. We unfortunately didn't have a
okay.
budget for a composer. It kills
Right.
me, but I wanted to make sure that we captured music that conveyed the style that we're looking for.
Sure.
So we went with more jazzy, noir type of copyrighted free soundtracks.
Which is very, very cool. It accents to this movie in particular. I always love how music is used to push forward certain things in a film, but it's such a lovely backdrop to it. The story is the forefront, the music is the background in this, at least in my interpretation. And how funny, folks, for those of you that can see, this is a director that has influences that go from Star Wars to Pirates of the Caribbean
Yes.
to The Godfather. I'm like, where the hell do you stand theatrically? I mean, are you like a fan of everybody?
Oh, I love, yes. My number one is Stanley Kubrick and Quentin Tarantino, but
Uh,
I'm a fan of all, and Greta Gerwig, who just
oh,
did
Greta.
Little Women and Lady
Yes.
Bird. Lady Bird was a big influence on this film.
Oh,
So
nice.
yes, the mother-daughter relationship really inspired me in that film.
Oh, sure. Now, how has it been going? Tell everybody how many times you've screened this so far.
We've been into 6 festivals thus far. We're
Okay.
waiting to hear from more.
Okay.
My Emily and Priscilla, they won Best Duo, honorable mention at the Vegas
Nice.
Film Awards, Film Festival, I think it was called, and I was beyond proud of them. I think they deserve all of that, and I'm really proud to get this film out there and just to have people enjoy it and to take their own interpretation from it. I'm just, that's more than anything I could ask for.
That's cool. Now, what else has Vincent got going on? Because most of you always have 7 things going on. So what's going on for the future, et cetera? As well as if people want to find you, how do they find you, social media or otherwise?
So our Instagram and Facebook is Tiger Pack Productions. We post on there all the time.
Hmm.
We have a film that we just released called Mon Corps et L'Etienne. It's a French title, but it's an English film. It's a really short 4-minute film that we have Priscilla and myself. I was able to make an appearance one way or another.
Aha!
It was a really small film that we did, more horror. Horror is more what we're generated towards. We love that, the darker stuff. And we're starting to get that out there on the festival circuit. And we have a lot more projects that we're starting to get to hit the ground once this coronavirus subsides and everybody's healthy again. We could start production, but we're in pre-production for 2 short films. And we're starting to make ground for our first feature. I'm working on the
Cool.
script as we speak, and we're excited about all that coming up.
Holy cow, he like wipes the floor with all of us, right? I'm like, man, I thought I was busy. He's got like 27 things still going on and all that good stuff. But it truly, I have a thing for a lot of the films in this festival this year. I'm like, they're just all so nostalgic and lovely in different ways. So I'm very, very excited that we got to do this. Obviously, the award ceremony is tomorrow night, so everybody will find out then, who you have had nominated, who wins, etc. I'm crossing my fingers for you because, of course, it's not up to me. I got a boss over here, and we got a couple other people to ask. But tomorrow, everybody will find out about that. And of course, in case you didn't catch it already, I have a magazine and a radio show where I promote directors and actors all of the time. So please feel free to solicit me for either or. Michael, who is in here, Heber Filmer, does film review. I do film review. So don't be afraid to tap the resources that are right in front of you, regardless.
No, much appreciated. I
Of
appreciate that
course.
very much.
Oh, yes. And, there's no greater thrill for me to be able to feature people that, sadly, not everybody gets in front of the camera. There's some wonderful work being done behind the camera, all of our fellow writers, actors. I'm a huge proponent for supporting independents because oftentimes many don't support them. So, yeah, definitely. You can feel free to reach out at any time. I'll have Michael stop the recording here since we're all finished. I'll make sure you get a copy of that.
Thank you.
Hopefully, do you have time the awards are tomorrow at 8:45 Eastern time.